Okay, we are producing, hosting, filming, recording, as you can see, at night. Chad coming to us from I don't know, some dark
The back
van.
stretch of Belmont Park. He had a horse running. He works. He's a working man.
And we are set as always for 3 races on our card today. Before we do that, quick wrap up from what happened last week, boys. So what did you think about some of the races from last week? We had that ACAC race. That was the Breeders' Cup Challenge race, correct? The ACAC.
Who was in it?
Yes, for the dirt mile. The dirt mile.
Yeah.
Senior Buscador was the.
Oh yeah, they scratched the horse out like the 10, but we ended up backing into. You like that, there, Chad? I think.
Oh, Senor Buscador. Yes, that was my pick, Senor Buscador. So what do you think? Senor Buscador is just nothing special. At 2 7s in his previous 3. Do we know what he ran after that, John? No?
Didn't check. Hold on, I can check for you now.
So impressed at all with Senor Buscador moving on to the Breeders' Cup, Chad?
Look, he's a nice horse. He was originally on the Derby Trail. He got hurt, had a chip, came back. Look, these are connections that spend a lot of time running in places like New Mexico and Albuquerque and Zia Park. It's, when you have connections like that, and they're able to come to Churchill Downs and win a race, a Breeders' Cup win-in race, and head to the Breeders' Cup, that's what it's all about. I mean, as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup, which is less than a month away now, but as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup,
time out.
Always be.
He ran a 6, by the way.
Okay, that was nice.
Okay, we're gonna be infiltrated by names like Todd Pletcher and Chad Brown and Steve Asmussen and Brad Cox. To have somebody like Todd Fincher with a couple horses in the Breeders' Cup for a homebred, the guy, the owner and his father, who passed away recently, they bred the horse, and that's what the Breeders' Cup's all about. It's a celebration not just of the horse, but of the entire industry. It's the breeders that breed them to the ones that foal them and raise them and break them and train them. And the Breeders' Cup is different than the Derby. The Breeders' Cup is a celebration of all the horses and all the hard work that it takes to get there. And Senor Buscador is a good example of a good horse can come from anywhere. They've done a good job with the horse. They've been patient. And look, he's going to go to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He'll be 10-1 in there, but he'll have a puncher's chance for sure.
Yeah, and as John just said, now 3 of the last 4 races, a 7, a 7, and a 6. That San Diego handicap, you could just draw a line through. That was a disaster. So definitely trending at the right time. Meanwhile, the Lucas Classic last week, that was the big one where you had the top names. And Rich Strike and Hot Rod Charlie really put together a hell of a stretch run, especially Hot Rod Charlie. John, isn't that really what you love about horses and horse racing? When you see a horse like that, he gets behind and he just fights back. It doesn't happen often. Only the great ones can do that.
He's got a tremendous heart. He doesn't want to get beat, and he would have been put up anyway, even if he got beat, to tell you the truth. I think the other horse fouled him. I don't know, Chad, did you see that? I thought he was good. He would have come down. Rich Strike. Really? He was.
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing we said when we signed off the Patreon version of the show last week was, jockeys, keep your hands and feet to yourself. And I guess Sonny Leon didn't pay the $5 subscription fee because he didn't listen. Now, look, the one thing, and this is a pet peeve of mine, and it's been a pet peeve of mine for a while, and look, I'm too fat to be a jockey, so it is what it is. But you have to know your competition, okay? And the one thing I would say, without the shadow of a doubt, is Hot Rod Charlie, who's a 4-year-old who we've seen a body of work of, 15 races or whatever that he's running. Hot Rod Charlie is a horse who loves to engage in a fight, and he's going to re-engage. Sonny Leon brought Rich Strike over from the 5 path into the path of Hot Rod Charlie. And while he tried to mount Hot Rod Charlie and basically ride 2 horses at the same time, and try to intimidate him. Hot Rod Charlie actually just got mad and pinned his ears back. Tyler Gaffalione laughed, the jockey. Hot Rod Charlie. It's actually pretty funny to watch the visual of Tyler just laughing at whatever Sonny Leone's trying to do. And he dug back in and he won. What you're supposed to do, you have all this momentum in the world. Don't let the other horse see you coming. Just run right by him. Stay far away from him. Don't let him want to get engaged in a fight. Horses are herd animals. They're going to fight when they're in close contact. Let the other horse take that momentum and let Rich Strike pull away. And that was, I thought, a very, very costly error from Sonny Leone. And I'm surprised, actually, how quickly Eric Reed, the trainer, came to Sonny's defense and said, we're not making a change. We're going to the Breeders' Cup. And Sonny Leone, after his 15-day suspension, will be back aboard. I mean, I respect and I appreciate the loyalty, but that was a very costly mistake because he probably was a little bit the better horse. And Hot Rod Charlie showed how much heart and guts he has. A really, really cool horse.
I don't think. Why was he the better horse? He interfered with him and everything. He put a head in front, and he still got beat. So I don't know if he was the better horse.
No, but Jonathan, if he stays outside of him,
Hot
Rod Charlie's not going to re-engage.
I'm
not saying
yes.
The way the race was run, he would have gotten taken down. I agree with you. But if he keeps him in the clear and he's in the 5-path, that momentum might swing him by, and then it's too late for Charlie to come back and make up the difference. At the end of the day, I thought it was an admirable race, both, but it shows to me, I don't think either of them, unfortunately, are Breeders' Cup Classic winners. I thought they ran hard. Hot Rod Charlie needed to win that race. He did that. He worked harder than I thought he was going to have to. And while he's still really, really cool quality horse, I just start thinking he's tailing off a little bit. I think that sheet number, Jonathan, if I'm not incorrect, came back pretty slow.
It did. They ran a 9.
Yeah, so he was coming off a career top at 4. You can make the argument that he...
Wait, time out, Chad. They're both going in the Classic?
I mean, we'll see what happens, but I would think at the end of the day that they'll both end up in the Classic.
How they're going to pay for Rich Strike to get in? Because he didn't get a win and you're in. He's paying to get in.
Yes. He won a $2 million race this year. He has the money to pay the $150,000.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, I just think that's a total waste of money. But go ahead.
What's interesting is we talked about that last week with Hot Rod Charlie when he was trending the first time all the way to a 4, then he went to an 8, and he trended all the way to a 4 again. And we was like, well, what's going to happen this time? And he trended back to a 9. So the last 2 times he trended to a 4, he bounced back to an 8 or a 9. Interesting.
The Chiefs don't lie. What did he do off the 8 last year? After the
another
8,
8. And finished second in the San Antonio. That was after the Breeders' Cup Classic. So,
all right.
So there you go. And another disappointment for Happy Saver. So I guess Happy Saver's done, huh? No more Happy Saver?
I don't know. It's one race. What does it mean?
Well, I know that Chad, you had talked about how you thought Happy Saver was just not.
Chad was not a Happy Saver.
No, he wasn't. Fan. Okay, so
no, I mean, look, there's a chance he can move on to the Classic. I think, nobody's talking about this. Todd has some options, obviously, with Life is Good and others. American Revolution has not breezed since the second place finish in the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga. I'm not even sure he's at the track right now. I got a feeling he might be on the farm. So he's still listed as a probable contender. I know he's a fringe player when everyone talks about Life is Good and Flightline, but I'm interested to see if American Revolution does make the race, and if he doesn't, does that mean Todd Pletcher ends up running Happy Saver just to have another horse in the starting gate? These are all things that we'll follow along the month as we get closer. This is really the last weekend of serious preps for the Breeders' Cup, though.
All right. So let's get the show on the road as we take a look at our 3 races. Our first race is going to be at Keeneland, and our second and third races will be at Keeneland and at Aqueduct. But our first race is going to be race 10, and that's the Coolmore Turf Mile Stakes. So the grade $1 million purse for 3-year-olds and up. This go off about 5:45 on Saturday, starting with Classic Causeway. You might remember Classic Causeway running earlier this year in the Triple Crown. Actually ran in the Kentucky Derby, won the Tampa Bay Derby. Since then, trainer change, by the way. Kenneth McPeak took over after the Kentucky Derby. The horse has finished in third 3 times, won the Belmont Derby at Belmont. 3 consecutive 10s coming into this race, John, at 20-1, all on turf. So again, Classic Causeway switching over to turf the last 3 races.
By the way, out of the 3 races we're doing, the 2 on the Patron and this freebie, this is by far the best betting race I think that we're doing. It's a full field of 12 horses. You know, they didn't have any turf at Churchill, so Keeneland is the closest thing if you're in Kentucky to get to run on the grass, I guess, unless you run at Ellis or one of those tracks. But listen, he runs 10s. A 10's not going to get it done here. He's 20-1 on the morning line. Probably that's the right price.
Chad?
He's a 3-year-old taking on olders, and we're starting to see this take place a little bit as things get closer. I do like a 3-year-old taking on olders in this race, but it's not going to be Classic Causeway. Classic Causeway needs the lead, and the worst thing he possibly could have seen was when Mike McCarthy decided to send the number 2 straight, the number 2 horse who's faster than him and better than him. And Classic Causeway, if he makes the lead, he's going to have to work really, really hard to do it. And he's just not ready to take on these older horses, especially at this grade 1 level. This is a great, great race.
Yeah, Smooth Like Straight, the 2 horse. Velasquez on board has single digits. Classic Causeway has never had a single digit sheet line. Smooth Like Straight this year, 9, 7, and 9. Had a 7 last year as well. So what about Smooth Like Straight? Getting almost 5-1 on this horse, John.
He's okay, but you know his last race was at Churchill on that goofy turf course, and the other races, for the most part, were in California. He did run a 9 at Keeneland, as you see 3 races back. I don't think he's running better than a 9. I think you have better options. And at 9-2, I don't want this horse at 9-2.
Chad?
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan. He's a nice horse on his best day, and he's had a lovely career. And I like Mike McCarthy shipping him over here, knowing that the Breeders' Cup is going to be here, get a run over the track. This is the prep for the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile, which is always a great race between the U.S. horses and international horses. But I don't like the pace scenario here, and I do think he's up against it, to be honest with you.
Next up is the 3 Order of Australia. I don't know, maybe this horse should have stayed in Australia. No single-digit sheet numbers here at all, John. 8-1? Why is this horse 8-1? Aidan O'Brien, is that why?
Well, he does have a 6 at Keeneland the last time he was here. I know it was 2 years ago, but if you see that, that's a 6 at Keeneland. The last 2 years he's been running in Europe. You know, when he came to Keeneland 2 years ago, he ran a top of a 6, first time in the country, but that was on Lasix. No Lasix tomorrow, and I don't like this horse.
Chad?
Well, it's also the only time he was ever on Lasix. Every other start of his life has not been on Lasix, so you can't really he's not one that's going to be hurt by coming off of Lasix.
But look, Chad, it was the best race. It was the best race of his life.
I understand. Well, I mean, he got a really fast number. It was the Breeders' Cup, and they tend to. Whatever. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, I'm very interested if this horse is here because I don't quite understand it. He ran really, really well in Longchamp last time. He could have come back and run in the race on the ARC undercard last Sunday, and instead he elects to come here. Christophe Soumillon, who's going to get a 2-month suspension starting next week for elbowing a jockey off his horse last week. He's taken the mount. Everyone loves Aidan O'Brien. Aidan O'Brien's going to go down in history as one of the greatest trainers of all time in the world, bar none. The things and the feats and the accolades that he's had are undeniable. But at the same time, Bill Belichick's 2-2, and Aidan O'Brien of late is basically 2-2. He just doesn't have the same success shipping over to America as he did in years past, and he's not as He's not as scary. In years past, if Aiden O'Brien brought a horse over for this race, he'd be 4-5, not 8-1. And I just think the horse is a little bit longer in the tooth. He tends to, if he breaks well, he likes to be near the pace, which there's a lot of speed in the race. If he doesn't break well, he's going to give himself a lot to do in a full field. I'm against Order of Australia on Saturday.
I mean, this is unusual because you have to agree, John, because obviously you've done 99% more races than I have. But you mentioned at 6, the horse finished 12th in that race.
Well, I'm just telling you what he ran.
No, I'm just saying, isn't that unusual, though?
To run 12th and run a 6, yes.
Yeah.
That's not a usual situation. That's true.
Well, you said it was the one at Keeneland.
He won that race. So, well, he ran the 6, he won. There's a W on the sheet.
Oh, so it's all right. Then it's not even on here then.
Right. Of course it's not on there. You only get 10 races on there.
Okay.
That's why you have the sheets, because you get every race of their life. So the W was, if you see the W by the 6, he happened to have won that race.
Chad, are you still there, or are you taking a phone call?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I'm just looking at the
cheating?
at the PPs that he's talking about.
All right, Gray's Fable is the 4. Oh, did you talk about this horse, Chad?
Yeah, he spoke about him.
Fable?
The whole Aiden O'Brien
Gray's
speech. I glad there, Mr. Greg.
I was going over that sheet line for Mr. Australia.
Well, when I told you ran a 6, you had to find it.
Yeah, I had to realize. Gray's Fable. No reason to talk about Gray's Fable, right? By the way, Order of Australia's got 1 win in 12 races at a mile. Another reason to stay away. Yeah, nothing to like about Gray's Fable, guys, right?
Correct.
Now, Masson is got to be the horse to play, right, John? I mean, look at this horse. Look at the sheet line on this horse at 12-1. This horse ain't gonna go off at 12-1.
He's my horse. I love this horse in here.
No
you're getting
way.
Flavian Pratt, Ted Brown.
Yeah, exactly. No way is this horse going off at 12-1.
Well, all I could do is read what it says on the program,
yes.
And it says 12-1. So he's my bet.
Absolutely.
As of this point.
I love it. So the good thing is, if the horse was 6-1, then it could go down to 2-1. But at 12-1, we might still get a good 6-1, which I'll take.
In a full field of 5, you may get 5-1. I don't know if that maybe not.
Okay, Chad. What about Masson?
Look, 3 months ago, we previewed the four-star Dave in Saratoga, and I said that I thought he was the best horse in training on the grass. I mean, I watch the horse train and breeze weekly, and he does things effortlessly and really, really looked the part. And look, the 4-star Dave fell apart. It was a small field. I think there was 4 or 5 in the race. No real kind of the pace scenario was all strained. Casa Creed came and just kind of, it was a jockey race, and it wasn't Flavian Pratt's, best moment. But that being said, he set a good enough trip that if he was good enough, he should have won the race. And I never really heard a good reason for why he didn't run better last time in the 4-star Dave. Look, everybody's allowed a mulligan, and that's Mason's mulligan. And look, you're getting the odds to certainly, dip your toe in the water. But I was very disappointed in the last race. And, this is a big race for Mason. He needs to run better, because he really shouldn't have run as flat as he ran last time out. If you remember, though, that whole, couple of weeks, that was when Chad Brown went from winning everything to not winning anything. I don't know if he was choking under the pressure or what happened, but, I mean, the horses just didn't show up that week, and it was really disappointing. So, he's had so much success. I'm willing to give him another chance, but tepidly. I'm not all in on Mason as I was 3 months ago, because I don't know what went so wrong last time.
But it wasn't so wrong, because the number was there. If he ran the 7 that he ran in the previous 2 races, this is the only place when we differ, Jonathan, when we talk about the numbers. The numbers are the numbers, and the numbers are accurate, and the numbers often are an accurate portrayal of what's to come. That's what's made you and Red Eggs and Seeds players so successful over the years. But the visual eye test is important, and he just didn't kick.
He kicked in the couple races before, and he just didn't fire. Now he didn't have the cleanest of trips. It was a fast race. I understand all the parameters for giving him a useful number, but he was supposed to, run a 4. The way he was training, the way he was acting, he was supposed to really take a step forward. So to par number, to me, I understand you par 2 numbers sometimes. Okay, now you're sitting on the next big one. To me, he was sitting on I'm sitting on a career best number, and it just didn't come. So the fact that he parred it, while for you might be okay and give him another try, for me, I'm disappointed, and I want to see what happens this time. That's the only difference.
Yeah, that's a good difference, though. Is like you took him last time and say I didn't take him, so now I'm going to go ahead and try to take advantage without all that baggage from the last race.
Listen, the bottom line, if he's really anywhere near this ridiculous price that they put him at 12-1, you have to play him. If he's 3-1 or 8-5 like that, yeah. I don't see how he could possibly go off 12-1. He's never gone off more than 3-1.
It'll never happen.
I don't understand why. No, but I could hope.
Yeah, we could. That's why I'm hoping for 6 or 7. That's it.
Yeah,
take 6 or 7. That's still good. All right, Ivar. Speaking of 6 or 7, Ivar is 6-1. Nothing bad about Ivar. He's coming off a 6 last time out. Ran a 6 last year. Ran a 6 in 2020. So this horse has got 8 straight single-digit sheet lines. And still 6-1, not bad. You can get 6-1 for Ivar.
No, but he's more likely to go backwards than repeat, because if you saw the last time he ran the 6 2 years ago, when he came back close, he ran the 8. Now he's coming back even closer. He ran on September 17th. So what is that? 3 weeks? It's kind of close. I would have wanted more time.
What do you think about Ivar, Chad?
I'm torn on this. First of all, he won this race 2 years ago. And then came back and was 4th in the race last year. Look, to me, if you go back and you watch the Woodbine Mile from last time, Modern Games might very well just be the best miler in the world, and we'll find out in the Breeders' Cup when we see him next. He destroyed that field. But Ivar ran really, really good to run second. It was only a second start of the year, and Paulo Lobo, who's a very good trainer, is very conservative by nature. So I think this is a good sign that he's in this race, because he had every reason after the Woodbine Mile to just wait for the Breeders' Cup. He's in the Breeders' Cup. He'll definitely qualify for it, and have a little bit more time between his races. The fact that he shows up in this race, to me, screams, man, we can't keep him on the ground. We got to run him in this race because he's doing so good. He actually raises up in my points. I understand what you're saying, Jonathan. He's supposed to be aggressive, but he's not supposed to be in this race.
Chad, I understand
in this situation, I take it as a positive sign.
You make a great point. I usually look at that as a positive sign also, especially if you know the trainer's, MO. Listen, he's a 6-year-old that has a total of 13 lifetime starts. So obviously he takes time between races. This time he's bringing them back in 3 weeks. So you could look at it like Chad's looking at it as a positive, and I could certainly see that case being made for him. Listen, he's one of my hookup horses, just strictly off of number power. He never runs a bad race.
And by the way, he ran a 6 in that race 2 years ago, the one that we're racing on Saturday. So
before he ran the 8, exactly.
Okay. Next up is the 7, Santon. 7-2 shot. Brendan Walsh. We know how good Walsh is. The sheet line is interesting. We've got this horse kind of has 3 cycles going. 13-11-7, 11-10-8, 11-7. So are we going to see a new top possibly on Saturday with Santon?
Well, I could excuse the 11 that he ran 2 starts back. He had a problem with his shoe. He had a shoe repair or a shoe replacement in the paddock. So, Chad's a trainer. He'll tell you how that could affect the horse. So the 11 doesn't scare me that much. What I don't like about the horse is the price. He's 7-2. Of course, he's off of numbers. He figures he has a 7. He has time off coming in. I'm going to use him also strictly because of the strength that the 5 is going to be 12-1, which I doubt. But the 11 2 starts back was a shoe repair in the paddock. So that was the reason for the 11. So you could read it 11-10-8-7.
Okay.
If you want to excuse the race with the shoe problem.
Chad?
Brandon Walsh is a tremendous trainer. He's had a horrible summer.
He's in a bit of a slump. He's been in a bit.
Stanton saved his summer winning the Arlington Million when they were, the only turf race there. That and the Beverly D were the only turf races in 5 months at Churchill. Look, he's a cool horse, man. I understand, it's not a great price at 7-2 on a full field of 12, but he's done nothing wrong this year. This is the distance that he loves. He's going to get the perfect setup in a perfect pace scenario. I mean, he's just in peak form right now. And, bet against him at your own peril because, he has everything going for him other than, okay, he's 7-2. Other than the price, Jonathan, you can't argue with anything that he has coming into this race. And, he just looks to be a horse on the improve and, certainly wouldn't surprise at all to win this race.
Yeah, well, okay. Listen, the problem is the price. 7-2. The barn's not doing well, but you're right. The horse is fine.
Yeah, it seems like shouldn't Ivar be be a lower number than a Stanton?
No, Stanton's coming off a win in a grade one.
The Arlington,
and,
okay.
Ivar hasn't won a race in quite some time.
He won the Arlington Million, Stanton. He's going to be the favorite.
Annapolis, 10-1 shot. Pletcher Ortiz combo. Started out 16-14, 12-8. Last two races, 11-10, John.
I don't like him. He's like a lot of other horses in the race, and you have better options at longer prices.
This horse has never finished outside of the top two. Chad, what about Annapolis at 10-1?
He's got 6 starts.
As our friend Lee,
and he hasn't. Oh, go ahead, Chad. You take it.
As our friend Lee Corso likes to say, Jonathan, not so fast, my friend. I like this 3-year-old. He's an improving horse. To throw out the race at Penn National, he did not like the yielding soft turf.
Right.
Okay. If the turf is firm over there, he was going to run better. I like the race that he ran last time. He ran a good second, the race before that. And to be honest with you, I think a mile is probably his best distance. He's cutting back in distance, which I think is going to play to his benefit. He's not really a 1 3/16, 1 3/8 horse. He's probably a true miler. And Todd Pletcher, as much success as he has, he's in the Hall of Fame. Again, one of the top trainers in history. Doesn't get a lot of credit for his turf horses, but he had English Channel. He's had a lot of success with Colonel Liam over the last few years. And Annapolis is another on that line that's a good horse. And he's acted like a good horse since he was a 2-year-old, and he's not going to surprise. I think this horse hits the board at a big price. As a 3-year-old taking on Olders, I think he runs a really, really, really big race on Saturday, and I'm going to key him in the tries.
Woohoo!
Next up, Casa Creed. 5-1 shot coming off the win at the 4-star Dave. Got back-to-back wins. Those were an 8 and a 7, John. So what about Casa Creed, who's never been in the money in 2 starts at Keeneland?
He's fine. He certainly figures off the figures. He's a 6-year-old. There are younger horses who are on the improve. It's unlikely that he's going to run a new top at the age of 6, but he doesn't have to run a new top. Either one of his last 2 races certainly could get him in.
Yeah, the major deal is the odds. With other good horses in this race.
That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. So.
Chad?
I don't know what this horse is. I know he was great the other day. I still think he's better as a turf sprinter. Look, other than the race in Saudi Arabia, the one thing with Casa Creed that's interesting is it seems like he runs his best races out of his own stall. And by that, what I mean is a place where he trains regularly, whether it be at Belmont or Saratoga. He's able to get a hold of the surroundings and the track and be comfortable. The fact that he's run twice at Keeneland, I know one of them was the Breeders' Cup Mile 2 years ago, so maybe that was a tough race. He was a younger horse. He's better now. I'm gonna take a little stab against him here. I know there's pace for him to run at, but I don't think he loves Keeneland. And I don't think that he really is a true mile horse. And I think he's better as a turf sprinter. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to try and beat him here. I know he's going to take a lot of money. Louis Saez has had a lot of success with him. Bill Mott, the Hall of Fame trainer. I'm going to try and beat Casa Creed.
The 10 is a 12-1 shot. Some like it hot brown. And that 5 last year that wasn't this race, was it? No, that was another mile race at Keeneland, right? October 9th. Anyway, that was a 5. Since then, not much from Some Like It Hot Brown, John. No single-digit sheets this year. Oh, he had the 8, but that was on
a wet track in a short field. Listen, he's obviously lost his step. Last year he ran 5 and a couple of 8s. The year before that he ran 5s and 7s. This year can't break a 10. I don't like him.
Bad.
So there was this race last year. It's undergone a few name changes over the last few years. It was the Shadwell Turf Mile forever. Last year it was the Keeneland Mile. This year it's something else. I think Coolmore Mile. Look, it's just a sponsorship.
They don't believe
thing.
In tradition, I guess.
I don't know how Some Like It Hot Brown won the race at Kentucky Downs last time. He did. I think Mike Maker had 4 horses in the race, and I think he was the 4th of the horses that I thought was going to win the race. Mike Maker is a genius on the turf. I don't know how else to explain it. He wins races that he shouldn't win. There is no chance. This horse has no business winning the race, running second, running third. He wins when he gets loose on the lead. He's nowhere fast enough to make the lead. Even if 2 other horses fall down, there's other speed in the race. I just don't see it. Now, I didn't see it in Kentucky Downs, and he won and paid a big price. He's a New York bred. We root for New York breds, but I do not see this coming on Saturday. I will not use Some Like It Hot Brown.
The 11 is a 12-1 shot. A Marathi 7-year-old, Chad Brown, and Giroux. You got the Chad Brown Giroux connection there. All right, so take a look.
When was the last time you saw Giroux ride for Chad Brown?
No, I said you got the Chad Brown Florent Giroux connection.
Since John Panagot is Giroux's new agent, and John Panagot is best friends with Chad Brown.
Wait, what was all that?
Florent Giroux has a new agent starting November 5th, so this is a little taste. This is a little appetizer of what you're going to see. You're going to see Florent Giroux riding a lot more horses for for Chad Brown.
The sheet line, the last...
It's fine. There's only one problem. He's 7 years old, but he's okay. Listen, if he's a price, why not?
Okay. Anything else, Chad?
He's a $2.6 million yearling purchase that he's never. Even if he wins this race, he's not gonna get that money back. I think he's not as good as Chad's other horse in the race. I think that he's up against it here.
Yeah, the sheets are pretty nice though. But yeah, 7.
But
he is 7.
Yeah.
Set piece 15-1 shot. Brad Cox Rosario combo. But this horse ran a 7 and an 8 to start the year. But since then, we only have what? We have a 12 and a what do we have here?
Where?
What are the last? What is this? Four races this year?
12, 11, 10 are his last 3 races.
Go. Too slow, right?
I think so.
Chad, do you agree? Too slow for set piece?
Listen, Florent Giroux gave this horse 2 of the worst rides I've ever seen in my life. The race on opening day at Saratoga.
Yeah, but that was a hard trip. That wasn't so much his fault. I don't think. I mean, maybe you may be right. I don't know.
Even if it wasn't all his fault, when he came back, he doubled down on the Arlington Million. The Arlington Million ride was just as bad. So he ran back at Pimlico, and he won. He won in Pimlico with a different jockey. And I like the fact that they didn't go back to Giroux here. They went to Rosario. Although it's funny because you don't like the horse coming from last. The last guy I'd probably put on the horse is the other jockey who likes to come from last, in Joel Rosario. But that's just my opinion. Look, this horse, if Joel Rosario is the best jockey in the world, which at times he can be, set piece is live at a price. But you need vintage Joel Rosario performance because this horse is going to have to come from, he's going to have to get a seam. The C's are going to have to part. There's going to be a brief interlude, for Moses, for him to win this race. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I would use him on my multi-race tickets, but I'm not going to pick him to win.
John, what are you going to get? What are you going to go with?
I'm going with my horse, the 5, Mason, in exact is with 6, 7, and 12. 5 with 6, 7, and 12. That's you want to know who they are? I'll tell you who they are. That's Mason over Ivar, Santon, and Set Piece. And of course, you can reverse them as well.
Chad?
I'm going to go with Santon on top, and I'll play him with Mason and Annapolis underneath.
Mason 12 is the 5, and Annapolis is the 8. All right, sounds good. That is it for our free audience. And just to let the free audience know what they're missing, we have 2 races coming up. One at Belmont at the Big A. Yeah. That is the Grade 3 Matron. That's for Philly 2-year-olds.
With a horse that I love.
But see? This is what you're missing. You're missing
a horse in that race at a price.
You're missing
love a horse in that
race. A horse that he loves at a price. And then also the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity. So that sounds like an important race for 2-year-olds, Chad.
That's a breeder.
5 horses out of that race have come back and won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and horses out of that race have come back and won the Kentucky Derby. So we started kind of looking ahead to our road to the Kentucky Derby by previewing that race coming up on the other side on Patreon.